Hello and welcome to this video on EFA versus CFA. What is the difference? My name is Geiser. I'm an instructor with QuantFish. In this video, I want to explain the difference between exploratory and confirmatory factor analysis. And so I want to start with a brief review of the overall idea behind factor analysis. Here you can see a path diagram for a three-factor model. In this model, we have 6 observed variables, x1 through x6. Those x variables represent measurements of different constructs with, for example, items or tests. And the latent variables f1, f2, and f3 are our factors. The basic idea of factor analysis is that we want to account for relationships between variables. So the variables x1 through x6 are correlated in potentially different ways, and so we're trying to explain those correlations by introducing latent factors. In this case, we are trying to use 3 factors, so we are reducing the information from 6 observed variables down to 3 latent factors that might represent different constructs of interest. And so that has different advantages. First of all, obviously, that is a data summary. So we're reducing the number of variables from 6 to 3 in a way. So we then later on will only look at the factors and not the observed variables. And also by doing this, by introducing the latent factors, we are accounting for measurement error. So with the epsilon variables that you can see at the bottom, we are accounting for measurement error in the observed variables. And then we have latent variables that are corrected for measurement error. And so then we can, for example, look at their correlations as is indicated here by the double-headed arrows between the factors, and those correlations will be adjusted for measurement error. So they will be closer to the true score correlations than if we looked at correlations between the x variables. So it is a measurement related idea of disattenuating variables for measurement error so that we can, for example, study convergent or discriminant validity by looking at factor correlations that are corrected for measurement error. Now, what is the difference between exploratory and confirmatory factor analysis? Let's start with exploratory factor analysis and see what the key goals of an EFA are, and then it'll become clear too how that differs from confirmatory factor analysis. So one key goal in an exploratory factor analysis is to determine the number of factors. And as the name suggests, exploratory means that we may go into the analysis without having any idea regarding the number of factors or which variable is a measure of which factor. So which variable is associated with which factor. We may not know that, and if we don't know that, then exploratory factor analysis is probably the method of choice, because that allows us to determine this exact question, or find an answer to this question. How many factors do we need to properly account for the correlations between the observed variables? Is 1 factor enough, or do we need 2 factors or 3 factors? And then also it allows us to answer the question of which variable cluster together. So which variables are grouped on the same factor, and that helps us to determine what the variables measure, and also it allows us to reduce the complexity of our data. So it's a data reduction technique where we reduce the dimensionality down to fewer factors. So we might have, for example, 6 variables, but we may not need to look at 6 different constructs because 2 pairs of 2 variables measure the same factor. So then it's enough to look at 3 dimensions rather than 6. And so it's a method for clustering variables, grouping variables, and for dimensionality reduction. How does that work? So in exploratory factor analysis, we have certain criteria for determining how many factors need to be extracted to account for a correlation matrix so that residual associations will be minimal. And then based on those criteria, we can determine the number of factors. Also, after we have determined the number of factors in EFA, typically we rotate those factors to make them more interpretable. And then we take a look at rotated factor loading matrices. Factor loadings are regression coefficients that indicate the relationship between the factors and the observed variables. And typically we look at standardized factor loadings so that they are relatively easily interpretable. Higher values indicate stronger associations between a variable and a factor. And so we look at which variables load onto which factors. And also we like to find variables that have high loadings on one and only one factor. If that's true for all variables, then we have achieved what we call a simple structure, where we have a group of variables for factor 1, we have a group of variables for factor 2, and we have a group of variables for factor 3, and they all load highly onto just their proper factor, and there are no cross loadings, or the cross loadings are close to 0. That would be ideal for a good factor solution that is clearly interpretable. So we use the factor loadings to interpret the factors. Those variables that have the highest loadings on a given factor, those are called marker variables, and they determine the factor meaning. So it's an exploratory analysis where we find out how many factors are there, what do they mean, how are they interpreted, which variables are good measures, where it's clear on which factor they load, which variables are not so clear. Maybe they have cross loadings, they don't have a single high loading on just one factor. And so therefore, this is also a great technique for variable selection in the initial phase, or one of the initial phases of scale development. So when you develop a new test or a new questionnaire, oftentimes EFA is used to filter out good variables that are clearly located on the same factor with high loadings, and to get rid of variables that have no clear loading pattern, that have cross loadings or no high loadings at all. And so this is often used for scale development and selecting proper variables. In summary, EFA is an exploratory technique where we just simply go in with our observed correlation matrix and we try to see what we get. So we just put that into a computer program and then see, okay, how many factors do we need? What variables are good? What variables are garbage maybe, where it's not clear? So it's a very, very exploratory type of analysis. Now, in contrast to that, confirmatory factor analysis is designed to test theoretical factor structure. So we're going into the analysis already with a clear idea as to which variables should be measures of which factor, and or with multiple competing models that all imply different theories or different hypotheses about the factor structure. But the key issue here is that we already have models in mind. So it's not like we're exploring the number of factors. Also, what is typical for CFA is that we don't allow for cross-loadings at all. So we have a very restricted factor structure, not always, but in many cases, variables load only onto one factor, and they're not allowed to have loadings on other factors. So we have a perfect, simple structure in CFA, and that may or may not be in line with our data. So it's a lot more restrictive than an EFA model. And oftentimes people don't realize this. So sometimes people run an EFA first and they find a model that looks good with, let's say, 3 or 4 factors, and then they fit a CFA and they are shocked that all of a sudden the same factor CFA model doesn't fit. And the reason is that the CFA is a lot more restricted. It fixes all those cross-loadings to 0 implicitly, so it's much harder to pass the goodness of fit test with CFA typically than with EFA. So with a CFA, we are going in with a factor model that we are specifying, and the key focus is on model testing. So we look at a goodness of fit test for a given model. For example, we go in and say, okay, we assume there are 5 personality factors, the big 5, and we want to test that with our data. Let's fit a 5-factor model, and then let's take a look at a chi-square test of model fit to see if that model fits our data. And then if it doesn't, then it means the theory is disproven or is disconfirmed. Also, a CFA allows us to determine reliability and validity, so we can come up with R-squared estimates for the observed variables, which can in certain models be interpreted like reliability indices. Also, we can compute composite reliability based on CFA models such as McDonald's omega or Cronbach's alpha for certain models. And often CFA is used to test the validity of a factor structure, so factorial validity and also convergent and discriminant validity based on the estimated factor correlations for the factors that are hypothesized. Another difference between CFA and EFA is that CFA allows us for more flexibility in modeling complex data structures. So with EFA, we would have trouble modeling more complex situations where we have, for example, longitudinal data, where we have multiple groups data from different independent groups that we want to compare. Also, when we have something like multiple rater data or dyadic data, so everything that becomes a little bit more complex, or hierarchical data where you want to fit a second order factor model or a bifactor model or something like that. That's easier to do with CFA and more straightforward. So there's more flexibility for analyzing more complex correlation and covariance structures and to impose constraints on parameters. For example, with CFA, it's very easy to fix certain parameters to theoretically assumed values and to put in equality constraints, for example, to test measurement invariance across groups or across time. So we can test nested models that hypothesize different structures, different measurement parameters, or different structural parameters in the model very easily with CFA. We can do chi-square difference tests for different models that include different types of constraints, which is not typically done with EFA. So CFA is a more confirmatory, a more theory-driven technique that you would use if you already had an idea about which variables measure which factor, or if you had more complex data structures that you wanted to analyze, such as longitudinal data. So in summary, EFA, more exploratory when you have no idea or very little ideas about what is in your data and you want to explore the measurement structure. CFA is more suitable when you already have a theory about the different factors and you want to test that theory. I hope you found this video useful to learn more about factor analysis. If you did, check out other videos on this channel on factor analysis and structural equation modeling. We have a lot of those. We also have playlists on that topic. My name is Christian Geiser, and I'll see you in the next video.